Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at another tier list. It's tier list Tuesday again, and today we are not going to take a look at any legacy moves. We can do that next week again. But today we're going to take a look at the best Pokemon for the Ultra League. I went ahead and looked at the top 100 Pokemon from Pvpoke and put them all into this tier list right now. But it's only going to be 75 for today because I, of course, excluded the Shadow Pokemon, so it's not like too variant, but we can still talk about it. So, top 100 Pokemon from Pvpoke all in here today. And we're going to start immediately here. We cannot really talk too much about everything because it's going to be quite much. But here, first one going to be actually one that I only put in decent, which is going to be Venusaur. Venusaur is not going to be as strong in the Ultra League as compared, for example, to the Great League. Great League where it really shines for Ultra League. It just usually doesn't do too much damage in like the normal open Ultra League. So I actually don't really like it too much in that. Better is definitely the Charizard, which is definitely in the busted tier, one of the most common, strongest meta Pokemon as well. Something that's very great to have though, which is actually really decent, is the Blastoise in my opinion. Now we have all the Kanto stars in there as well. This is the order for them. Decent definitely, but like, yeah, definitely better also than the Venusaur in my opinion. Just has a little bit more bulk, has a lot of play in the open Ultra League meta with a Water Gun where everything takes a little bit longer, so definitely for it. Another busted Pokemon, one of the best Pokemon in this meta is going to be Pidgeot. Very strong, a little bit fell off a little bit recently. I feel like I don't really encounter it too often, but it's a very strong Pokemon. Same goes for actually a Alolan Sandslash. I would put it lower into the busted list, but definitely one of the Pokemon you really want to get. Another Pokemon that you really want to get as well, going to be the Nidoqueen, but it's only really great to have above the Blastoise for sure. A very strong Pokemon, mostly the best poison type maybe Tentacruel or something going to be a little bit better to be fair, but this Pokemon definitely after the recent buff is back again. Another Pokemon that's definitely high on the good to have list here, or like great to have as a Pokemon to have, is the Clefable. It's kind of close to the busted tier as well, very strong, but I would say that alone Ninetales is still a little bit better, but also this Pokemon kind of fell off a little bit recently, so I'm going to put it also into the great to have tier. That's basically S tier is like really the top tier meta. The A tier here below great to have is still very meta. Like, don't get me wrong, those Pokemon all have a lot of play in this meta, especially the ones that are closer to busted tier here. But yeah, next one. I don't know how good this Pokemon is yet. I'm recording this before this Pokemon comes out with counter. It's actually not in the top 100, but I kind of want to include it because after the counter, it's definitely going to be in there. I would imagine it's going to end up somewhere into great to have tier. I don't think it's going to be busted, but I think it's definitely one of the Pokemon that you want to have for this meta. Next up, going to be Machamp. Kinda not as good anymore. It is decent, definitely still decent. But you don't really see it too often, and for good reasons to be fair. It still does work out fairly well, but I feel like there are just a lot of other fighting type Pokemon that are just a little bit better in my opinion for that fit. Another Pokemon that's actually really decent, I would put them above Nidoqueen, is going to be the Tentacruel. Very strong Pokemon, is very cool, but yeah, definitely one of the bulkier Pokemon. Really gets a lot of benefit from having Acid Spray, as well as Blizzard as a moveset, and also the bulk from the XL candies is very nice for this Pokemon. As you can move on to the next one, which is going to be the first spicier one, which is going to be Gengar. Gengar going to be not really that usable, sadly. It is a very spicy pick. I don't know how it's really up there. Like, it has some decent matchups against Quesalia and Registeel, but you really have to get it into the matchups, and it's very difficult to get it into that, so not really the best. Next one, which is going to be definitely in the great to have tier, which is going to be the, actually I would put them actually between the other two poison, like in the middle of it, is going to be the Galarian Weezing. Very strong in basically any kind of position, like either as a closer, safe swap, elite, all of it can do. It's a very versatile one, very decent. Lapras is also a very decent Pokemon. Recently made a video about this one. Definitely also kind of high up on the list. I would also kind of put it into that region. It's not as great as other Pokemon, so for sure it's great to have, but you don't really need it. Something that's kind of decent is the Articuno. It's actually very decent. I kind of want to try it out as well again. Maybe I already did, who knows, when you watch this video. But I would put it into the decent tier somewhere around, like, actually like kind of over the lower one. But it is definitely a decent Pokemon to have here. As you're going to now have the next one, which is going to be more of the spicier tier here, which is going to be the Zapdos. Never really seen it, has potentially some play, but it is definitely more of a spicy pick. Same goes for the Moltres. They're just better options for it, to be fair. So like, It's just more like a spice pick if you really want to surprise opponents and thinking that you're going to swap into your Charizard, but it's actually your Moltres. But it's not really that crazy decent either. Other than the normal Moltres, like the Moltres with the Dark typing, I would just also put it only to decent though. Like it is a very cool Pokemon to have, definitely. It is strong to have as well. But is it like really a must-have, or like if it's I mean, it's kind of great to have as well, but it's not that crazy strong in my opinion, at least. Other than the Shadow variant, especially of the Dragonite, definitely in the busted tier, this Pokemon is one of the coolest Pokemon to use right now. Very, very commonly seen in like top tier teams, so definitely nice to have. Same goes for Meganium, definitely great to have this Pokemon here as well. But it's again somewhere kind of around where Blastoise is, has a lot of potential in certain matchups, but has a lot of bulk, which is kind of nice. But yeah, next one going to be actually the Noctowl, which is a decent pick. I tried it on myself. It just doesn't have the same effect as it has in the Open Great League. Same goes for the Lantern, while this has a little bit more of a play though, so I would put it a little bit higher. The Ice Beam variant of Politoed, still haven't tried it out, but I would only guess it around like decent tier as well. Like, you can use it, it is not bad. I mean, I guess I would put it around where like Blastoise is. It's kind of similar, to be fair. So like it has also Ice Beam and also has a Water type move, so it's like a very, very similar Pokemon. Next up, we're going to actually have one that's really low ranked on Pvpoke for whatever reason, but is really decent, is the XL Umbreon. I wouldn't say it's as good as in the Great League either, so I would just put it somewhere around where the Poliwrath is most likely. It is definitely a very strong Pokemon though to have, and definitely good to have, especially for all the Giratina and Cresselia around. This Pokemon definitely can do something, but it's not as strong as in the Great League. Something that I don't really like to play myself, but which is definitely something that you can run, is the XL Steelix. I know a lot of people really like it, so I'm just gonna put it into a like higher up tier as well. Summary rarely Umbreon is as well. I just don't like that you're going to lose completely against Swampert with this Pokemon. That's basically it for it, but yeah, next one is actually, in my opinion, the first just note here, which is going to be the Heracross, just because there's a better Pokemon for that, which we're going to take a look at later anyway. So, like, I wouldn't really recommend you to run Heracross at all. It is an okayish Pokemon, you can play it, but, like, there's just a better Pokemon for it, which you might already guessed, but yeah. Next one, going to be again more like Spice, to be fair, which is going to be the Mantine. Actually recently battled one, also going to be in one video that most likely was out already, but I would more put it into the spicier tier. Definitely has some play though, but yeah, most likely not the craziest Pokemon either. Only Pokemon that I also would only put like to decent is like Skarmory. Looks better on paper than it actually is. I actually would put also the Machamp a little bit higher than, like, for example, those two Pokemon there. Same goes also for the Venusaur, like they're also a little bit more better, but yeah, it's not really that great. Something that is great is going to be the Miltank, definitely a very bulky Pokemon. It's somewhere around like Lapras. It's not as good as you might expect, but it's a very decent pick for sure. As we're going to go, honestly, for a Pokemon where I just don't see the play for it, I just would put to just no. It's just there because it's a sim hero, to be fair, because of the fast move as well as Wild Charge. Raikou you can play, like, yeah, yes you can play it, but there are so many different other electric type Pokemon that you can play that just have way more to it. Like, for example, even the Zapdos has more to it. You have the Ampharos, which is better, you have the Galvantula, which is better. There are just so many electric type Pokemon that just are a little bit more exciting than a Raikou, so I wouldn't really put it that high. Which I put, of course, into Busted is going to be the Swampert, for sure one of the best Pokemon, if not the best Pokemon of this meta. As we're going to take a look at the next one, which is actually in a decent pick, which is a Great League Pokemon again, which is Pelipper. Very strong Pokemon, very, very underrated, to be fair. It's a little bit difficult to get, of course, as you need to have it fully XL, but a very strong pick for sure. Same goes for the Walrein. This is the league where Walrein really shines. I would put it around like here. I think that's kind of fair for it. But this is definitely the league where Walrein really shines and is a very strong Pokemon. Same, also a very strong Pokemon is the Regirock, one of the top tier Pokemon in my opinion, maybe even above the other ones here. Also really highly ranked. Wouldn't say it's busted or whatever, but it's a very strong Pokemon that a lot of people don't really expect. It's completely destroying a Charizard. All the ice types, I don't really want to face them. All the flying types, you see already like the top tier Pokemon there. They're basically, other than like Swampert and maybe the Sandslash, don't really want to face this Pokemon. So that's the main reason for it. Next Pokemon, I actually cannot even say it's decent. I would not even put it there. I just don't like Regice. Like the typing, ice typing in general is so horrific. It's just not really nice. Next Pokemon, most likely above Swampert right now, is Registeel. Very strong Pokemon, honestly, fully XL, super expensive. Definitely worth getting if you can. I actually have the rank 1 variant, which is insanely rare to get because you have to trade for it. But yeah, we're going to now take a look at the next one partner in crime here. I would actually put it a little bit lower though. It's going to be the Deoxys, still in the busted tier list for sure. One of the strongest Pokemon that you can play right now. And yeah, next one, I guess it's a Spice Sword. I would put it into Spice. I guess it has some play. Sometimes it's Lucario. It is not really the craziest Pokemon though, so it's not really the best. What is really good right now though, which I would really recommend you to try out, is the Toxicroak. Toxicroak is really, really strong. The typing itself is just so nice because you're going to be able to do so much damage against a lot of Pokemon, as well as you're going to completely lock in the Cobalion and the Virizion, which is really nice for this Pokemon as well. Next one, I guess it's decent, but you don't see it at all anymore. It is like the Obama Snow. I would not really put it higher than this. Like, you don't really see it. It is not really having the best play right now, especially with like Charizard around, a lot of counter users around, the Registeel getting completely walled. It's not the best Pokemon. Interestingly enough, I think Licky is a good to have Pokemon. Nobody has it though. Like, nobody plays it. Everybody plays the Snorlax because of the superpower coverage. And I actually don't think that Snorlax is even in here. I just went by Pvpoke ratings. I don't have anything else to do with it. But I think this Pokemon has a lot of potential, having access to Shadow Ball and I think Earthquake as well. Plus like a little bit better stats than the Snorlax as well, I think. Very cool Pokemon, definitely has some play. Something that has a lot of play is the Gliscor, very good core breaker, very, very strong Pokemon. Speaking of very strong Pokemon, into the busted tier list immediately going to be the Giratina, insanely strong in the current meta. Highly recommend you to build one if you have one. Most likely a little bit, like basically as good as Swampert, like they're both basically reign on top there. A little bit lower than those for sure. Going to be Cresselia, but I would put it also fairly high here, as Cresselia is going to be one of the bulkiest Pokemon to play and very, very decent. One Pokemon that I really want to try out again is the other form of Giratina. Also kind of underrated. I would put it also definitely good to have. Very good sweeper. Like, there's not a lot of Pokemon that really want to come into against this Pokemon, so it's a very good sweeper for like endgame scenario. A little bit difficult to set up though, because ghost typing, there's always like the issue that the best Pokemon that you can pair with a ghost type is usually a normal or a steel type, and they're all getting destroyed by Obstagoon and Scrafty, so that's kind of that. Next Pokemon, it is, I would say it's just, I mean, it is difficult. I would just put it into decent. I wouldn't put it higher, especially if Meganium is a little bit higher. Meganium just has better coverage with Earthquake, so I cannot just put the Serperior higher than this here right now. I think this is okay for it. I think that's exactly where it belongs, to be fair. But yeah, next Pokemon. Again, this is more like a Pokemon that you see in restricted metas, so I would not put it higher than decent. Like, you don't really see the Samurott other than this, like, so like it really needs like a move update or something in order to be good, or like it's the Hisuian variant for it, because otherwise it's just not really that nice. A Pokemon that I also played recently is going to be the Scrafty. Scrafty is a very strong Pokemon. Would put it as definitely into busted tier, definitely one of the Pokemon that you really want to have. But I would put it fairly low because it kind of always have, it's kind of one-dimensional. Like, you don't really have a lot of Pokemon that you can play around it. You have to always kind of go for a similar style of play with like having another dark type in the back, having this as your sweeper, having something like a poison type in the lead. It is very predictable and very, yeah, I don't know. Like, you really have to set it up first, and you always can only set it up in like one direction, which is not really ideal. So that's why it's a little bit lower here. But definitely, if you have it in that team, you're definitely going to enjoy it quite a lot. It's a definitely Pokemon that you want to build. Another Pokemon that you really want to build is going to be the Kofak Regas. Very strong Pokemon as well. Got a lot of people to rank 1 in the world as well before, so definitely a strong pick to have. Same goes for Escavalier. Very good and also restricted metas, but in general, very cool core breaker. Kinda lost a little bit of potential recently after the Charizard got buffed a little bit, but I kinda have to put them also. Kind of have to put the Giratina a little bit lower, not gonna lie. The Giratina is like Lapras level, that's more for it. One Pokemon that I actually would put into busted tier is now Jellicent as well. Jellicent is just very, very bulky, very strong Pokemon, definitely something that you want to have. Same goes for Virizion, you have to get this Pokemon onto your team as well. I would put a lower tier again. I feel like it lost a little bit potential, even below the next one here. But it's still a very strong Pokemon to have, especially like it can function again in any kind of role, even with Stone Edge coverage. It's just so nice. So you're gonna take a look at the next Pokemon. it's supposed to be up there as well. It's just going to be between Busted and Great to have, going to be the Galarian Stunfisk, a very strong Pokemon again. There's no lot that you can do wrong with this Pokemon. As we can now take a look at the next one, which is going to be the Mandibuzz. This Pokemon again kinda is a little bit above Umbreon, to be fair, so like I would put it around here. Very bulky, dark type again, but again it's kinda difficult to set up. You kinda want to have it in like similar style of teams, so it's a little bit tricky there. I would put Cobalion a little bit lower nowadays compared to Virizion. It is a very strong Pokemon. It is again also kinda like those steel rock type-ish Pokemon there that all kinda do similar stuff. I kinda would put them there. Definitely a cool Pokemon, but not as good as Virizion in my opinion. If Virizion is like at the end of Busted, I would just consider this there as well. That should be kind of accurate for that one. Next one, we're going to have the Kyurem, which is for whatever reason in the top 100. Has basically just Glaciate and is a very spicy pick. It's okay to have, it's definitely okay to have, but yeah, you don't really want to have it. It doesn't really have the best stats. Something that's actually cool to have, but it's like more to the decent tier. You can build it, you don't really have to build it. Going to be the Genesect. This Pokemon has a lot of potential with a lot of different forms. But again, it's more like of a restricted Pokemon there. Like if you have like some restricted meta, it might shine a little bit better. But right now, it's not really that common, it's not really that good. This Pokemon is a little bit better for sure. It's going to be the Chestnut here. It has to be above the other grass-type starters for sure. I would put it somewhere... It's somewhere like in the Lapras area as well. It is definitely better than Meganium. But yeah, still very solid Pokemon. Can break a little bit the course, but it's not as good as in Great League in my opinion. The meta is just a little bit more flying and Ice-type here for this meta, so... That's kind of what pulls this Pokemon a little bit back. But the next Pokemon, still going to be one of the strongest Pokemon, but of course lost a lot of potential after Charizard got introduced. Going to be Talonflame. I have to put in Summer here as well into the good, great to have tier, but you kind of want to play it with the Charizard together, I feel like. So it's always also a little bit tricky to build around this Pokemon. Florges is up here for whatever reason. I never see that. It comes into decent tier. It's not really spicy, but it's... You can play it, but it's not really the greatest. We're just gonna put it like to the random flyer Pokemon there at the end. As you're going to have Aurora is definitely something that is good to have. I would put it also somewhere around here again, where the other rock type, ground type, steel type Pokemon are definitely great for that one. The Trevenant kind of got a hit with the recent nerf of Seed Bomb, making it way worse. Would put it still a little bit higher here than, for example, Kofagrigas. You see it way more often than Kofagrigas. Still a very strong Pokemon though, so definitely something that you can play. Clefable actually kind of with the recent changes, I kind of have to put it a little bit higher than this. Clefable is more common than the Ninetales now anyway, so I kind of have to put it higher than this. If ever this Pokemon going to be like released or like obtainable, Zygarde is going to be everywhere. This Pokemon is insanely strong. Zygarde complete form. It is even bulkier than any of the other Pokemon that are currently available, so it's going to be completely busted anyway. So, very strong Pokemon, for sure, worth getting. Worth getting is also Kommo-o. Have to put it very high. Very strong Pokemon, very good core breaker. A lot of people just don't have a good one for it, so that's why they never build it. But it's a very strong pick. Same goes for Golispot. It's now, since the move update, one of the better Pokemon to play. It's not busted, it's not like crazy meta, but I still would say it's a very strong Pokemon to pick. As we're gonna go for another busted pick here, which is going to be the Tapu Fini. Very strong Pokemon, see it all of the time, very great typing, you see it from Azumarill. Very strong pick. As we're now gonna move on to the next one, going to be the better Heracross, that's why Heracross is down there. I would just say, like, if you want to run a bug in fighting type Pokemon, run Buzzwole. Buzzwole is so much better with Lunge. Honestly, I played it recently, it was amazing. Very strong pick, very good Pokemon. Very strong pick as well, going to be the Guzzlord. We're gonna put him here around the Giratina or something. Like, it's kind of here. Like, it is a very strong Pokemon. It's definitely one of the A-list Pokemon here, which is going to be this bigger section here. But it is also a little bit tricky to play again. Like, you kind of have to have some coverage for it. For example, a lot of people just play it with the what's called Deoxys defense, because like you can have some coverage against fighting type Pokemon with it, which is kind of nice, as well as for steel type Pokemon you're going to be able to beat it. So it's mainly why you play it. But yeah, right now one Pokemon that really fell off, and I don't really think it's a good Pokemon to play nowadays. So honestly, if you want to invest in it, I actually would not even recommend you to invest in it right now, but it is kind of here into the decent Pokemon to have. Greedent was once one of the best Pokemon to play. Right now, it is just not. It is really just not. It is not the best Pokemon to play anymore. There are just so many better normal type Pokemon nowadays that got XL. For example, the Double, which is clear one of the best Pokemon to run right now. It is so insanely strong. It is wild. You definitely want to have it. It is one of the best Pokemon to play. And now we're gonna take a look at the last 5 Pokemon that we have here. Obstagoon, it has to kinda even go up here. Like, I would put it into a top A list again. It is very cheap to build as well. It is most likely a little bit worse than the Scrafty if you just look at the stats, but this Pokemon itself has so much potential, as well as a Say Swap with a Gangshot for like Fairy type Pokemon. It is just so much fun to play. Very cool Pokemon. A little bit worse is going to be the Surfetched, very strong fighting type Pokemon. Again, a lot of good fighting type Pokemon in this meta. I would put it somewhere here as well. Going to be very decent as well. I don't know about this Poliwrath, by the way. Like, it's kind of floating around there. I'm not sure where it's going to be at the end because I haven't played it yet, but this is not going to be that impactful, but it looks like it's going to be one of the stronger, great to have picks. So definitely get one. But the next Pokemon going to be also very decent, but definitely lower than the Kovac Regus. It's going to be the Runerigus, which is going to get some more weaknesses, for example, against Swampert, which really makes it a little bit worse to play. I would put it into decent tier, I guess. It's like one of the EXL Pokemon that you can build if you want to, but it's not really something that you have to build immediately. Next Pokemon going to be the Armored Mewtwo, which haven't been available for ages. Really was a meta before, now it's literally just a decent Pokemon. It's not as great anymore, sadly. Still very bulky, unlike the normal Mewtwo, of course. But it's just not as good, and it's also not really highly ranked. And the Sneasler is cool together with the Toxic Rock, but that's basically it for it as well. So I'm gonna put him into the great tier here as well. And this is basically going to be it for it. I think that's going to be it for it. Yeah, we're just gonna put him here. Like, this is going to be basically my list for the top Pokemon to build. Or not to build for this kind of meta. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the subscribe button, and also there are going to be just 2 videos on the screen right now, or like 1 playlist and 1 video. One going to be the last tier list Tuesday, so feel free to watch that one as well, and the other one going to be the playlist for the other videos for them as well. So check them out if you haven't already, and I see you then. Bye bye.